This is where the magic happens. 155 delegates from the great state of Texas will be here at 1 p.m. Keep in mind that Ted Cruz won the Republican primary on March 1st, so the delegates here are going to represent you. And Legion, there are so many issues that are discussed nationally that wind up playing out in the Coastal Bend. We're talking about things like immigration, health care, but also jobs. Think about where our country was a year ago when oil prices or gas prices started to drop dramatically. People across the country celebrated, but that wasn't exactly the case in Texas, where tens of thousands of people lost their jobs. Dr. Tom Burnell, he's a political science professor with UT Dallas. So thank you so much for joining us
You're
tonight.
welcome.
So first, let's start with his long-awaited speech. What specifics, what do you think he needs to talk about in order to unify the party tonight? All of them spoke about the challenges facing America, but argued that Hillary Clinton is the right person to lead the country, especially on issues like jobs and health care. The theme of the night was Stronger Together, but that doesn't just apply to Democrats. It also applied to independents, which Clinton needs in order to defeat Trump in November. But we'll have to wait and see if she won those voters over. At the Democratic National Convention, Stephania Jimenez, Chris 6 News. Make this a really tough weekend for many of us, and that's exactly why the Salvation Army is gearing up for a mission to help anyone who may get displaced by the weather. Our Jane Caffrey joins us in the newsroom now. So Jane, tell us, how are they preparing? Side. Huge night for Bernie Sanders. He beat Hillary Clinton by about 6 points, 5 to 6 points tonight. Is there any path for him to get the nomination? At the time, the temperature was about 95 degrees. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the 18-month-old boy is okay, but when police took him out of the car, his body temperature was almost at 100 degrees. Many of you have questions after two men got infected with the flesh-eating bacteria after visiting beaches in Galveston and Port Aransas. Now, we spoke with a biologist from A&M Corpus Christi who says there's just no need to panic. So more skimming devices have popped up in the Coastal Bend. We've told you about these before. Those are the devices that steal your credit card information. Anegeli Ruiz reports on where those devices were found and what you can do to protect your information at the pump. The anxious day for some CCISD students and parents. First, a student was found with a knife at an elementary school, and at Carroll High School, a student brought a gun. Well, the red tide situation along our bay is improving. Last Friday, the city began cleaning up and removing the dead fish from the water, so you know what, the smell isn't so bad. City crews have picked up more than 8 tons of dead fish from McGee Beach toward North Beach. If you only lost power for a few hours after this weekend storm, consider yourself lucky, because hundreds of people still in the dark. As of an hour ago, more than 500 homes still didn't have power. Good evening. The Democratic National Convention is more than halfway done, and Democrats are eager to hear the solutions to many of the problems that Americans still face. These are the issues that Democrats from the Coastal Bend prioritized in the following order: jobs, foreign policy, terrorism, immigration, and debt. However, not all of these issues have been addressed at the convention. There's been lots of talk about strengthening job growth, growing the green energy sector, raising the minimum wage, and supporting a pathway to citizenship for undocumented workers. But not much talk here about the debt, foreign policy, or even terrorism. Instead, the focus has been more on domestic policies. Democrats have spoken about an issue that affects all Americans, and that's health care. This is a very big concern for Democrats in Texas, a state where 25% of people are uninsured.
My biggest issues are probably health care and affording health care because my husband and I don't have jobs that provide health care.
The Clinton campaign has pledged to continue to build on the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, slow the growth of health care costs, and reduce the cost for prescription drugs. But if she wins the presidency, can Hillary Clinton strike a deal with Republicans to make it happen? And we should hear more about that tonight. That's because Hillary Clinton's former boss, President Barack Obama, and Vice President Joe Biden will speak here tonight. They're expected to talk about Hillary Clinton's legacy, all of the things that she's accomplished during her very long career in public service. But they're going to argue that in order to get real results, not just Democrats, but the American public has to work together. Live at the Democratic National Convention, Stephania Jimenez, Chris 6 News.